Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is? Talking to you guys, I'm doing a reaction to my own video, own panelist video. We had a live the other night on Married at First Sight, and I'm reacting to a video because I think this was one of the greatest conversations we've had on this channel. I say one of them because honestly, we have great conversation on this channel a lot of times, but I think we've got some understanding here from both sides, arguing a point about Zach gaslighting, right? And this particular topic, I find it interesting because the very same thing that some women have an issue and think that Zach is gaslighting is also the same way that I see that a lot of some men behave when it comes to dealing with things like abuse or sexual violence or something. Their mind becomes almost biased, right, to their gender, and the allegiance goes to the agenda before it goes to actually dealing with the actual issues. I see this with men too as well, and it's not just a woman thing. I see men. If you go to comment sections when you see a video, you'll see men talking absolute crud and rubbish just because they want to be able to protect, I don't know, males, whatever. But really, most of the time, it's a projection. It's like they feel like they're being blamed for something that that a man has done, right? And I think we have the same kind of issues with women too sometimes. And it's not all women, again, just like it's not all men. And it happened, I think, on this panel, but we had a great conversation. I really want to shout out the panelists that are on this, and Lin and Coco, because this is not a video to break them. No, this is actually an understanding. I finally got it. I was like, oh, I finally get it. I understand where this is coming from. And I always say this, empathy can be given when we begin to understand, right? It's very hard. It can be done, but it's very much more harder to give empathy when we don't understand, right? And so I now have a bit more empathy for the other side in terms of how they're seeing Michaela, because we've now got a deeper viewpoint, right? So we'll watch a little bit of the clip. I'll show you in a few seconds. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like it, share, subscribe, and you click on that bell button for the notification of the uploads, baby. Okay, listen. It's wavy out here. You get me? Listen, for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated. Why? Because the streets out there are hot. All right? Listen, don't play with me, my G. You understand? Listen, let's get into the video. So I'm going to bring up the clip. I'm going to sit in the corner. Oh, what's this? Oh, it's a new thing. We can be in the corner. Sick. Okay, I didn't even know that. There's a new thing here where you can be in the corner. Okay, they've been upgrading. I didn't even realize I can be in the corner. It's about time, baby. Okay, listen. But let's listen to this clip. This is from the super panel we had the other night. And I want you to listen very well. And then we'll talk a little bit about this situation with gaslighting. Okay, we'll do a part 2. I actually explain what gaslighting is and whether Zach was actually doing that. But I want to just focus on this conversation. Really, a great point that was happening, right?
And here we go.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go for it, Linda.
To Light's point, to all of the points that she made, which were excellent, and just want to make it clear, like, I am not on Michaela's side at all. She is 100% wrong. And like Light said, you're responsible for your actions. However, I do pose the question, and maybe this is more devil's advocate, I don't know, because this is kind of where I was coming from earlier. I'm thinking as Michaela. I'm not thinking about like outsider looking in, like, is Zach gaslighting? I'm thinking, I am Michaela. Is Zach gaslighting me?
I want to pause it there because it was the greatest revelation we heard on that live. Okay. We were discussing whether Zach is a gaslighter, right? And I brought up the definition of what gaslighting actually is. I said, this is the definition of gaslighting. Let's discuss whether you believe that Zach's actions that you've seen on the screen fit this particular definition of gaslighting. To which two of the panelists said they did, Linda and Coco. Again, shout out, because again, it's not a crud video. This is actually an understanding that I got now, and I can be more empathetic to their position. And they said, yes, it was. And as Linda was explaining, she was explaining how she saw herself in Michaela, and therefore she was almost trying to think as Michaela, and thus that's why the gaslighting term came out. Bear in mind, Michaela hasn't ever said Zach's a gaslighter. She hasn't said that. Now, has she said that that's not how the conversation went? Yeah. right? Has he said the same thing? Yeah. But neither of them have said that the evil person is a gaslighter. That is something that we as an audience have put onto her, which actually partly kind of is a bit of a projection anyway. But we've put that narrative on because neither party have said they're gaslighters. You know what I'm saying? They've said that they haven't recorded information correctly on both sides, but neither party's called the other a gaslighter. So this is from our perspective, we're bringing that topic in. And as she clearly explained, she said, I'm seeing myself as Michaela, and I'm looking at it from Michaela's lenses, and I'm looking at the situation as a gaslighter. And when that happens, what can happen, because we all do it, we all put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, is that we can project how we think we feel as to what they are feeling, or to what we think is happening, to what is actually happening, right? And we can project because we have gone through similar situation. Maybe we've dealt with a similar person like Zach, who has been gaslighting, who has been abusive, who has been this way, or used manipulative tactics. And sometimes the trigger isn't even that the person acts the same. Sometimes the trigger is just a gender, right? It's both men and women do this, right? Sometimes the trigger is simply that you saw another man with another woman, and as soon as she did something wrong, it must be him, because we can put ourselves in that person's shoes, right? And so it was a beautiful moment, because what had happened then, it allowed us to see now that's where you're coming from. Zach is not a gaslighter. I'm going to say it again. Zach is not a gaslighter. The definition of gaslighting, he does not fit. If anything, Michaela's closer to gaslighting than he is. Far closer. But even then, I haven't said she's a gaslighter. I'm very cautious about saying people are gaslighting, because I think you have to be very careful with that term, right? But
based off of what I understand, where I understand our relationship to be. So I do ask, like, is that gaslighting her from our outsider perspective? Or if you were Michaela, how would you be taking these things that Zach is saying? Because to me, especially if they had the conversation that they were going to divorce and try to work things out after the fact, okay, cool. You guys are on the same page with that? They even hinted at it at the table. They were like, we're good where we are. I think we're both on the same page as far as our end goal. So it seemed like you're on the same page. But then Zach they sit down at the bench, and all of a sudden he starts talking about marriage to you was a lot harder than I ever expected it would be. And I'm not just talking about marriage. I mean, it's because I'm married to you. Like, I'm just like,
again, that wasn't linking to gaslighting. But it was important just for me to play the whole clip so we could understand her context too as well, because I don't want it to be taken out of context. The thing that we had here, and this conversation went a little bit later on. I want to get to a part where I actually asked a question about putting ourselves in each other's shoes, because when I saw that, oh, we're putting ourselves in Michaela's shoes, that's why we're kind of giving her this pass, right? Because we see ourselves in her, and it's harder to judge yourself, right? And we're giving her we're not giving her a pass, but we're kind of trying to put a little bit of blame onto Zach. I now could see where that was coming from. And so I asked this question, which was around, obviously, okay, so have you done the exact same thing for Jose? Have you done the exact same thing for Johnny, right? To which they both said, Johnny, they've put themselves in the shoes of Johnny, but Jose, they hadn't. And the reason why they hadn't put themselves in Jose's position is not because it was a crazy situation between him and Rachel. It's because you just can't put yourself in the shoes. You just didn't do that. So you gave him no excuses, right? But we're giving Michaela some excuses because we're putting ourselves in Michaela's shoes and we're seeing ourselves in it. And we can't totally write ourselves off. So if we're writing off Michaela, I'm actually writing myself off. That's what we're actually saying. That's why it became a projection. And rather than actually being about gaslighting, it became about how we may feel, right? And then projecting that onto the Michaela situation with Zach, as to he can't be perfect because I've gone through something similar and it was never perfect like that. And I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I get it where we're coming from. Now I get why we got to this point where we're saying Zach is a gaslighter. Well, he doesn't gaslight anybody. Has he been foolish? Yes. Has he been immature? Yes. Has he misspoke? Yes. Has he gone back on what he said? Yes. And all the same things we've said, Michaela's done the exact same thing. But we're not calling her a gaslighter. That's not where this lies, right? That's not where we spoke about Michaela. We spoke about emotional abuse, Okay. And that's what I was saying about making men this perfect victim, because automatically, as soon as we talk about a man being victimized, in this case where it's Zach, we're having to reduce it by adding the fact that we see Michaela's point of view, but he's gaslighting her. And that takes away from the fact that he's been emotionally abused. But I want to play his point here.
Like, now why are we here talking about, like, you're telling me?
Sorry, let me go a little bit. Have you ever asked why they are triggered and behave the way they do? This is Linda and Coco. Just need a quick answer. Have you put yourself in them two shoes, those men's shoes, and said, let me reason as to why they behave the way they do, and say what you've said today, the way you're talking about in the perspective of Michaela?
It's I don't know if I'm on.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. Johnny, I wouldn't. Okay. I think we're going apples and apples and oranges. We're talking about Michaela and Zach for the longest. That's kind of like.
No. I'm asking a simple question. Have you put yourself in the shoes of Jose and Johnny the same way you're doing with Michaela? Have you done that?
I would say yes to Johnny.
Yeah.
I personally feel like Johnny is. When I look at Johnny, I just feel like he is just a mood ring, and the mood is always on red. Like, he's always angry, he's always peevish, he's in a fantasy world. That's when I see Johnny. For me, Johnny, in a textbook sense,
yeah,
I will say, you know what? Okay, the answer to your question, if you're asking questions for yes or no answer,
yes.
In the terms of Johnny and Jose, I believe my answer for Jose is no, but my answer for Johnny is probably yes.
Okay,
that's my answer.
Okay.
For Michaela, honestly, watching one of your reviews.
Wait, before you go, I need to get an answer from Linda as well. Sorry, I'll come back to you. I will come back to you. Don't worry. Okay, Linda, same question. Have you put yourself, and I'm talking about reasoning on their behalf. I'm not talking about just I can understand their viewpoint. I'm talking about reasoning. I'm talking about putting yourself and saying, I too, I'm trying to come from the same angle of Jose. For instance, I can see why he got frustrated so much by another woman calling him another name, and why he decided to escalate his behavior to that level. Do we put ourselves also in Jose and Johnny's shoes? Would you say that, Linda? Would you say you put yourself in those shoes?
No. I'm not saying this as a reasoning for Michaela's escalation. I just want to be clear. It's not a reason.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, do you put yourself in the same way you're doing Michaela right now, how you're putting yourself in that position? Do you also put yourself in the position of Jose and say, I can understand why Jose also was seeing it the way he's seen it? Because you just said a minute ago that Michaela, you're kind of seeing things from Michaela's point of view, as to, from her point of view, maybe she can see why she's getting gaslit or whatever. Do you do the same thing for Jose and Johnny?
For Johnny, absolutely. Roll tape back, because when Johnny said things about like Bao potentially being like a different way off camera, or like hiding her personality, I did bring up that like she seems kind of strategic. I said it in previous episodes, like she seems kind of strategic. She made sure that she got that cooking on camera. She made sure that she started memorizing the names on camera. So like I can kind of see where like some of her like being strategic and playing to the camera kind of comes into play. Like she's very aware of that. So I did put myself in Johnny's shoes in that sense. So roll that tape back. I did. But like again, I did not use it as an excuse for Johnny's behavior
so what about Jose?
At all. For Jose, I don't actually think that's quite apples to apples, because that was just like ridiculous. Like that was just such an insignificant thing. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because you see what we're talking about, and this was that aha moment. You know, when you get the Eureka, finally we get it, right? Because we're putting ourselves in Michaela's situation, right? And seeing it from Michaela's point of view, we're trying to almost find an excuse. You know, to say Zach is gaslighting is almost to say that she has an excuse as to why she's behaving the way she's behaving, right? To call Zach a gaslighter in this situation, that he's intentionally trying to change her perception of reality to make her feel like she's crazy, and we still can't find no examples. The examples that were given were, to my discretion, were not examples of gaslighting. They weren't even close, because there was no. let me not go to it. We'll do it in part 2. But to focus back on what was just kind of being said there, the Eureka moment was really that we don't put ourselves in Jose's position, which is why we can call Jose an abuser straight away. Oh, Jose's an abuser. Yeah, he's an abuser. And we all agreed. We all said it. The men and the women said, nah, Jose's an abuser. How's he locking the door? And then she's going out the house and then pretending as if anything, Jose was gaslighting her when he's like, oh, I didn't mean to close the door. Yes, you did. We damn well know you don't lock the dock door and lock the deadbolt in. You know you locked the door knowing your wife was outside, sir. Come on. You know this. You did it on purpose. Like, we're not going to let you get fly, right? You see my reviews. I've not let him get away with it, right? But we can easily do that. But as soon as it's Zach, we can't do that, right? And we put ourselves in a position with Michaela. And then what happens is we have to try and make an excuse for Michaela's behavior. So I'm not saying that women were even saying that they said that already. They've already made that very, very clear. But they're almost trying to make an excuse as to why she's behaving the way she's behaving. Oh, but Zach no, he's not. He's not. We don't have to do that. We can call her an abusive person without having to now bring a label also onto Zach. And that's what it became. And again, like I said, it's not to bash any of the people that were, not to bash Lyndon and Coco. I actually really love their perspectives. And that's why I always have, especially Lyndon, I love her perspective. I love her coming on, because as much as we agree or sometimes disagree, it's always a very respectful and very open dialogue where we can learn. And I'm always learning. So sometimes I don't get it right. I have to see things different. Like, okay, didn't see it right. Y'all already seen me come and apologize to my panelists before, bro. So, it was a Eureka moment to see that some people, when I'm seeing them defending Michaela or even trying to make Zach a gaslighter, part of it is a projection, right? Part of it's projection. That's why we couldn't do the same for Jose. No one questions him being abusive. No one says, what did Rachel do? Right. So, for instance, when you heard our arcs, they said you can't compare apples and oranges. I'm like, we can, because we're saying something about her behavior. If men were to do the exact same thing, we'd be like, well, Rachel is, she does this, she does that, and I was like, no, she doesn't do that. She literally didn't do anything, and Zach didn't do that either. He's got other problems, but he didn't do that. Just like Rachel's got problems, but she didn't do that. So it was a Eureka moment for us to discuss that point, and we've got a better understanding of the situation. Listen, go watch that video in live. Great conversation all throughout the 3.5 hours. But I want to just break that down, because I think we've been talking about this for the last few weeks, and it was a good Eureka moment for us. So guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. You click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. Oh, snap, I didn't mean to put myself in a corner. Yes, I did. I just wanted to see how it looks. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. More love, baby.